Okay guys, John the Van Guy, gearbox off. Now I'm going to share with you this momentous occasion which has just happened, and my first, so let's go through it. Okay, here we have the engine, and from the first video I did, there's a few things that were suggested before you start doing this, and let's take one, let's take that valve off. That valve there, that goes into the heater matrix, sits on top of the engine, but it's easy to break it off because you're going to tip the whole engine forward. To stop all the coolant coming out, I put a bung in there. Get yourself a pack of bungs. You can get these little tray of bungs, different colours and sizes, and very useful. It always come in useful with this sort of thing. I also, to get at the bolts to get that off, I took this rock box cover off, another good reason for bunging that, you don't want water to actually get in your engine that way when you tip the engine forward. Not that it will get in. The other thing I forgot to mention was starter motor on the first video. I didn't say about getting the starter motor off. Obviously that's got to come out. Two of the bolts actually attaching the starter motor also go through gearbox and engine housing. So you've got to get those off. Not too bad. What I found for this process, I was trying to find out on the internet what bolt sizes are in there actually on the box. Now I'm not sure this is standard, but I found, for me, the bolts, I took them out or loosened them. Here they all are. Put them in order so you can see that the S for the starter motor, so that they all go back in the same holes. Oh, there's one still in the engine. That was the last one. I left the top one in, that one in fact. I'd loosened it, but it was still on, holding it all together. And one of the bottom ones, I hadn't actually taken the bolt fully out, although I'd taken the nut off. Some of them go into the body, and some of them have bolts, have nuts on rather. Anyway, that's the order. And one of the concerns is when you're actually doing it, if the thing comes off, the gearbox comes off too quickly, then you might, well, we'll go into that in a minute, you might damage it. Okay, let's get underneath and I'll show you. This has only just happened, so it's all very exciting. Okay, you're going to have to drop the engine slightly. So there's a jack underneath, see? With a block of wood to hold, support the engine. I found that I couldn't drop it too far anyway because the manifold exhaust that's on here, it actually goes into the casing of the car. I wonder if you can see it from here. It's to be a monkey to get around these things. Oh, there, see. So it couldn't drop any further than that anyway, but it was enough to actually loosen it. Now I found, this is the gearbox off, all very exciting, and obviously I drained the gearbox oil first, just as well, and taking off all the various pieces, including you can see the speedo cable there, and there's the rod support which actually goes through for that center. See that center piece? That's the center bracket which holds the gearbox. Now on the center bracket, just while I'm at it, you've got a few connections. You've got 4 bolts which hold it to the chassis. We can call it a chassis, it's all one unit, isn't it? But anyway, which holds the body of the car. And also at the top there's 2 brackets. There's another 2 bolts on either side of those 2 brackets. Let's go on either side and I can show you. I didn't realise this until I was actually doing it. So you've got those 2 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4 at each end, and then on the inside slightly you've got these as well. Now while I'm at it, I must say a useful thing which I found invaluable is getting this socket set. It's whatever bolts are supposed to go on there, I don't think I found the 13 socket would actually go on these bolts, which is very useful, but it's probably slightly smaller than 13s, I'm not absolutely sure. But I've got this Nielsen set, and I think it's called, I think what they call Nielsen X, is it? Let's see if I can see. And X Nielsen. well worth getting. Inside they've got they've got a couple of bars on that inside to actually grip the actual nuts you're taking off more tenaciously than your standard sockets. Now, they've been invaluable. I've used them many times, and I've used them for actually this. So I thought 13s worked on these sockets, those 13s. Okay, right. Now, this is the interesting thing. This is where we get interesting. I did what they said, and undid all that. I was afraid it would drop forward, obviously, as I said before. And this is the flange you can damage. Got on the body of the car. Right, that's the top flange you can actually damage. And you can damage that on the steering rack. See that bar that goes across? That bar steering rack. If it comes off with a jolt, your gearbox, then it can hit that flange and hit this flange and damage it. Well, so you've got to be a bit careful. But I found my bolts were loose anyway, so it came off beautifully. Again, once I did that top bolt, which I was able to access from down here, it had dropped a little bit, so I was able to access it quite easily with the 13. And once that undid, I only had the bolt with no nut on it at the bottom here, and that just came out with it, to be honest. And when it kind of slid forward, what I had to do then was twist the whole thing 90 degrees, so you're twisting that way, simply to get the flange away from the steering rack, and then the whole thing just pulls off, and there you go. And that's it, folks. Oh, one small step for man. Right, what can you see? That's the clutch. Now, I was looking at this. This is fascinating. Now, look. Take a look at this. This is something else. Now, here we have your thrust bearing. So as you operate the clutch, that's the clutch lever there. Can you see it? Clutch lever there. I'm operating that. That moves this. Now, shouldn't there be something in that bearing? It looks a bit hollow, doesn't it? Now look. Oh, and also this shaft is slightly loose, which suggests oh yes, I can hear it. Suggests the bearing is gone anyway. So that's one of the things I would have to replace if I was replacing the clutch. If I was taking this gearbox apart. Oh, but I've got a recon coming. Going up to Belper to pick it up on Friday. Week Friday. And now remember how that looked? This is the new girling going on. And look at this bearing. Look what's in the centre of it. A big carbon bush. That's what it should look like. Which would explain quite a lot of the problems. But it wouldn't explain the fact that I was jumping out of gear. First and reverse jumping out, which suggests it uses the same lay and same gear, first and reverse, and they weren't holding. So I think I have to do all this anyway. Well, there you go. So what an exciting, it's not a difficult job, folks. So if you're thinking about having a go, why not? Okay, bye now.